Okay, let's talk about firewalls then. All right, firewalls are a network level defense against software level endpoint risk. Okay. Let's suppose that you're the system administrator. I want you to imagine for a moment you're the system administrator for a very large corporation, and it's got tens of thousands of machines running on the internal network, and you need to harden them against external attack. You're figuring the biggest threat you have is someone outside the company attacking you. There's only 10,000 employees inside your company, but there's 5 billion people elsewhere in the rest of the world who might want to attack you. What's the most cost-effective way you can defend against that? Well, you could think about this as the more network services your machines run and are exposed to the internet that can be accessed by people anywhere on the internet or that will respond to requests, the greater your risk. Buffer overrun flaw or any flaw in any of those services that are exposed to the public internet could potentially allow someone outside the company to hack into a machine on the inside. So if you want to mitigate that risk, one approach would be to go to each individual computer in the company and turn off all unnecessary network services. And that would reduce the attack surface, reduce your exposure. Fair, that'd be a reasonable approach. The downside of that is that that requires configuring each individual machine one by one, which could get tedious if you have lots of machines. So it might scale poorly. So firewalls are kind of an attempt to provide an answer to that challenge. And what they do is they try to manage the complexity for sysadmins and make things maybe a little more scalable, maybe a little bit more manageable. What we're going to do is we're going to try to reduce the risk from outsiders, reduce the risk of external attack by interposing on all the traffic that goes between the outside world and the internal network. We're going to put a choke point on all those network connections. And that choke point is going to be responsible for limiting what kind of access outsiders have to open connections to internal services. Okay, so all traffic from the outside world is filtered through this one narrow choke point, and then we can defend that one choke point. And that's going to make the sysadmin's job easier because they only have to configure that one choke point. We call that a firewall, rather than having to configure all 10,000 machines on the internal network. Can anyone think of any examples in your everyday life where we see those kind of choke points, not in the digital world, but in the physical world? Toll booths, yeah. Yeah, maybe for physical security. Airports would be a good example. Border crossings, yeah, you go through a security choke point where there might be 100 gates, but there's 5 security choke points, and that makes it easier to manage doing a scan of everyone. Yeah, TCB is kind of when we talk about complete mediation in a reference monitor, that's a way of putting a choke point on all accesses to devices. Yeah, good. Okay, lots of good examples there.